So you think about moving here to Port St Lucie, Florida, and you just want to know the good, the bad, the ups and downs, maybe the lefts and rights, but mainly you just want to know the pros and cons about living here in Port St Lucie, Florida. If you happen to live in nearby areas like West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Delray, Fort Lauderdale, even Miami, over a few weekends you could drive through Port St Lucie and get a better feel of what you like and dislike about this area, and then make a decision for yourself if you want to move here. But sadly, for most people looking to move to Port St Lucie, Florida, this just isn't an option. Many of you live out of state, and a good portion of people watching these videos actually live out of the country. So in today's video, we're going to go over the location of Port St Lucie, Florida. We're going to talk about some of the popular neighborhoods. We're going to go over the average home prices. We're going to talk about property taxes and what you can expect to spend on a home when you purchase here in Port St Lucie, Florida. We're also going to talk about homeowners insurance and which homes you may want to avoid purchasing here in Port St Lucie, Florida. We're going to talk about the school boundaries for the parents that have children or looking to move to this area. We're also going to talk about what some of the locals like and dislike about living in Port St Lucie, Florida, and so much more. So please grab yourself a beverage, sit down, and let's get started on today's video. Let's talk a little bit about stats of living here at Port St Lucie, Florida. The population in Port St Lucie, Florida is just over 217,000 people as of July 2022. The median income is around $68,647. Now, if you head over to niche.com, it gives Port St Lucie an overall grade of a B. It gives the public schools a B-, housing is C+, good for families a B-, crime and safety is C+. I think that figure is off. Diversity an A+, and it rated Port St Lucie number 22 out of 228 best cities in the US to retire. All right, let's talk a little bit about the location of Port St Lucie, Florida. Port St Lucie, Florida is located about 50 minutes-ish from West Palm Beach, about an hour and 15, hour and 20 from Boca Raton, about an hour and 30, hour and 45 minutes to Fort Lauderdale, and you definitely got to figure over 2 hours to Miami. Now, if you like Mickey and Minnie and you love going to Disney World and Universal Studios, you're about an hour and a half to hour and 45 minutes roughly up to Orlando to visit all the theme parks. Here's a handful of pros why you may want to consider moving to Port St Lucie, Florida. Number one, we have no state income tax. Number two, we have what's called Save Our Homes Amendment, which limits the assessed value from increasing on your primary property to no more than 3% a year, which will definitely help keep your property taxes much lower 10, 15, 20 years from now. Number three, the cost of homeowners insurance for this area of Florida or the southeast area of Florida is much lower than nearby areas of West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, mainly due to the location, but also some of the other reasons here is the age of the home. The newer the home, generally the lower the insurance. Number four, the affordability factor. Homes are more affordable here in Port St Lucie, Florida than nearby areas like West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. And number five, honestly, it's an overall great place to raise a family. Now let's talk about some of the cons of living here in Port St Lucie, Florida. Now, here's some of my personal cons about living in Port St Lucie, Florida. Number one, definitely the high property taxes. Port St Lucie has some of the highest property taxes in all of Florida. Number two, the lack of high-paying jobs. That is starting to change. There's a lot of projects and a lot of new businesses coming into the area that will solve some of the problems and some of the higher paying or skilled trade jobs that are needed in this area. But that's something to consider. That's why a lot of residents who live here currently live in Port St Lucie because they moved there because it was more affordable. But the better jobs are down in Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and so on. Another con here is the traffic. The traffic is pretty bad, especially off the St. Lucie West Boulevard, Gatlin Boulevard, and Port St. Lucie Boulevard, but the city is addressing that. There's a lot of road projects and road construction going on currently or in the works to widen roads, widen the on and off ramps onto I-95, and so on. And another con that I'm going to have to say is there's a lack of stuff for children to do. Children, if they stay busy playing sports, playing athletics, I know it's the same thing, if they have something productive to do, they're less likely to get into trouble. Now, the city is working on some new projects and outdoor events or outdoor things to do, but it'll take time for all those to finish up. So these are some of my cons about living in Port St Lucie, Florida. Tell me what you think of some cons that you may already know about living here in Port St Lucie, Florida. Before we move on to the rest of today's video, if you're new to my channel, my name is David Rogers. I'm a licensed real estate broker out of Palm Beach County, Florida. I specialize in real estate from Port St Lucie, Florida, down to the Palm Beach County, Florida area. If you have any questions about moving to Port St Lucie or the nearby areas, feel free to reach out to me at info@davidjrogers.com. You can also call me or shoot me a text at 561-660-0154. And make sure you take the time to subscribe to my channel, leave comments, give it a thumbs up, hit the like button. Now let's get back to today's video. All right, I know many of you watching today's video are really only more interested in the neighborhoods in Port St Lucie, Florida, and what some of the best neighborhoods are. So we're gonna briefly go over neighborhoods located within a homeowner association, and I'm also gonna go over a bunch of other neighborhoods that are not part of a homeowner association, because I'm sure all of you have different ideas of what type of living you wanna do. So first, we're gonna talk about St Lucie West. St Lucie West was a popular neighborhood that was built starting around the 1990s. It offers all ages neighborhoods, single family homes. It has some condos, has some townhomes, and then it has a couple 55 and over or active adult neighborhoods, which include the Cascades and Kings Isle. Kings Isle is going to be the more affordable villas and smaller single family homes, where the Cascades is going to be on the higher end of pricing for the area. Now let's move over a little bit to the west, and we're going to talk about PGA Village. This is a popular golf destination as well. It has 54 holes at championship golf. Now this is one neighborhood you might want to consider if you love to golf, if you like the amenities like tennis and everything else, and the community amenities, the pool. PGA Village has single family homes, it has some condos, and you're going to find affordable homes in there as well, in the 300,000, 350, 400,000 range. And you also will find more expensive homes getting close to $1 million and a little over $1 million. And again, you will be part of a homeowner association there. Now next is Tradition. Tradition's another popular, well-known neighborhood in Port St Lucie, Florida. It has a mixture of all ages residential neighborhoods, and it has a bunch of 55 and over or active adult neighborhoods, which include Del Webb, Esplanade, Tulare, Lake Park, and I know I'm missing, Valencia Cay at Riverland and Valencia Grove at Riverland. Even though Valencia Cay and Valencia Grove are not part of Tradition, it is sandwiched in Tradition for the most part. Now, let's move over to some of the non-HOA neighborhoods within Port St Lucie, Florida. So if you look at this map, all the way to the east side of town is Sand Hill Crossing. Sand Hill Crossing is a great location, especially for those that want to be closest to the beach. If you like to go to the beach, Jensen Beach will be the closest beach. It's about a 15-minute drive from Sand Hill Crossing, which is the easternmost neighborhood in Port St Lucie, Florida. You'll find a mixture of homes built between the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. Then a lot of homes starting to be built around the 2000s, and even to this day, there's new construction homes being built in this area. Now, if you go a little bit farther to the northwest, you have Torino, which is located just north of St Lucie West. It's actually part of St Lucie West, but it is called Torino. Most of the homes in here are just like Sand Hill Crossing, they're on what we call a scattered lot, or it's on a 1/4 acre scattered lot in Port St Lucie. Again, there's no homeowner association. Now, one other thing to consider, these neighborhoods generally are not going to have sidewalks, and that's one of the cons that we hear from residents all the time. They wish there were sidewalks in these neighborhoods for their children to ride the bike on and walk on. Now, Torino is home to a couple HOA neighborhoods. One of them is called Windy Pines. It's about $50 a month and it's inside of Torino, but it definitely has a different feel once you drive through there. Now, if you go farther to the south, you have Woodland Trails, Crane Landing, Becker Ridge, and Tulip Park, Rosier Reserve, Gatlin Pines, and Newport Isles. These are also on what they call a scattered quarter-acre lot. So most of these homes are going to be on septic tank. So let's kind of backtrack a little bit. All the homes on scattered lots up to a certain point, I think it's around 2016 or 2015, I got to verify this, the homes will have septic tank. It'll be city water, but they'll be on septic tank, built if they're built before that 2015-16 time frame. Anything built after that will be on city sewer. Now, if you buy a home on a septic tank or that has a septic tank, yes, if you want to pay the money, you can hook up to the city sewer line or city sewer supply. Now, let's talk about some of the older, more original areas of Port St Lucie. If you're looking on this map, right here in the orange, Swan Park, Floresta Point, Floresta Gardens, Bayshore Heights, and even parts of Northport Village, some of the homes were started being constructed as far back as the early 1960s, and then more construction happened in the 1970s, 1980s, and even to this day, some new homes have been built. You will find a bigger portion or majority of homes in this area ranging from 2-bedroom, 1-baths, 2-bedroom, 2-baths, 3-bedroom, 1-baths, 3-bedroom, 2-baths, anywhere from like 800 plus square feet under air to about 1,100, 1,200 square feet under air. And even today, these homes are still selling for $250,000, $275,000 up to $300,000, $330,000. So again, if you don't want to live in an HOA community, you have a ton of options within Port St Lucie, Florida. If you have any other questions, reach out to me. All my contact information is in the description below. Now let's move over to property taxes. Now let's talk briefly about property taxes and what you can expect to spend yearly once you purchase a home here in Port St Lucie, Florida. If you look on this diagram or this chart, if you purchase a home for $300,000, you're going to spend roughly $3,600 to $4,400 per year. If you buy the same home for $350,000, you're going to spend roughly $4,800 to $5,400 per year. And if you buy a home for $400,000, expect to spend $5,800 to $6,500 a year. A $450,000 home is going to be anywhere between $7,300 to $8,200 per year. And if you buy a home for roughly $450,000, expect your taxes to be between $7,600 and $8,500 per year. These are realistic figures of what you can expect to spend on property taxes here in Port St Lucie, Florida. And one other important advice for buyers out there. Remember, if you're getting a loan or a mortgage to qualify to buy the home, the lender is going to use the current tax amount that the seller is paying. Those figures can jump up dramatically once your home is reassessed the following year. Prime example, you buy a home for $450,000, your taxes roughly around $8,000 per year. Now let's say the homeowner has lived in that home for the last 15 to 20 years and they had their Save Their Homes Amendment or the homestead exemption on the property, which limits increase in property taxes more than 3% on average per year. Let's say they were only paying $3,000 per year. That's a $5,000 per year gap or difference. So when your lender is pre-qualifying you on a home, they're going to use the current tax amount. Now, here's a concern for you as a buyer. Next year, when your home reassesses at the higher amount, your payments are going to go up roughly $400 a month over what you got qualified for. And in many cases, if your taxes and insurance are escrowed into your mortgage payments, that number will be even higher because the lender also has to put extra money aside to increase the reserves for property taxes. If you have any questions about this, definitely reach out to a tax professional, talk to your lender. You can also call me and ask me questions. I'll be glad to assist you and help you understand better what this really means and how it can negatively impact you after buying a home, which is one of the biggest fears that I have with buyers not knowing what to expect after closing. So if you go over to redfin.com, they show the median home price as of January 2023 in Port St Lucie, Florida at $371,425. Now, if you go back to July 2022, that was the peak price for sales in Port St Lucie, Florida, and really across the country. The average median price came in at $405,000. Now, the average days on market currently is sitting around 77 days versus 44 days last year at this time. So what does that mean for you as a buyer? It just means that there's more opportunities out there for you to negotiate with the seller to either get money back towards closing costs. You can get money to help buy down your interest rate. Now, how much can you expect to spend on a home currently? You will find homes in the low $300,000 price range. As I discussed earlier, those are going to be some of the older homes in the older neighborhoods that were some of the original neighborhoods here in Port St Lucie, Florida. You will find a good portion of homes from the $350,000 up to $400,000 price range. And then you're going to find an abundance of homes from $400,000 to $600,000 and above. I know earlier in the video I told you, but I'm going to tell you about some homes that you might not want to buy in Port St Lucie. This really applies to anywhere in Florida. Number one, if the home has a roof, especially a shingle roof that's more than 15 years old, you need to consider walking away from the home unless you have the financial means to replace that roof if it is required from the insurance companies. Yes, you'll get insurance on that roof as long as there's no active leaks and other factors. But within the next 2 to 3, 4, 5 years, your insurance company may decide to drop your insurance policy because of the age of the roof. So let's say you buy a home that's 2,000 square feet under air, 1,700 square feet under air. You're looking roughly $20,000, maybe more for a new shingle roof. Now, again, if you have the financial means and it's the absolute perfect house on the perfect block, the perfect neighborhood, maybe your family lives down the street, I would tell you yes to buy that home. But if you cannot afford to replace that roof in the near future, please do not buy that home. You're going to put yourself in a big financial risk down the road. Number two home I would tell you to walk away from. Some of the older homes in Port St Lucie, Florida are wood frame construction homes. Some of the homes going back to the 1980s and even in the 1970s are wood frame or stick built. I would advise you to stay away from those homes unless it's the only home you can afford to purchase. Wood frame homes have more maintenance. When you have to do the hardy board or the siding, you also have to worry about all the wood rot and the termite damage underneath that. And also too, generally speaking, your insurance is going to be much higher for that home compared to a concrete block construction. So honestly, don't buy a wood frame home if it's extremely old in the 1970s and 1980s. And don't buy a home that has an old roof that has no life expectancy. This goes for tile roofs and metal roofs as well. Again, I do hope that the insurance guidelines change sooner than later, because this is going to hurt a lot of buyers that bought in the recent years where the roofs are close to being past the age or have no life expectancy left. One of the other pros to moving to Port St Lucie, Florida is the affordability of the home. And with that being said, the homeowner's insurance premiums are also lower here in Port St Lucie, Florida compared to nearby areas like West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. One, yes, it's still within the hurricane zone, but mainly the homes, most of the homes here are newer. Most of the homes were built in the 90s up to 2023, but a majority of the homes here were built in the 2000s. So any home built after 2002 or 2002 or newer is going to offer the lowest homeowners insurance premiums. On average, you're going to spend around $2,000 per year, give or take a few $100s on a newer home. Now, one thing to consider, the home has to have a roof that still has some life expectancy based on the insurance guidelines. Let's make this simple. If the home has a shingle roof, the insurance companies are only giving the shingle roof 15 years of life expectancy. A tile roof and metal roof, they're telling us 20 years. Now, hopefully this changes. But if you're going to buy a home, make sure the roof is no more than 10 years old on a shingle roof and no more than 15 years old on a tile or metal roof. That'll give you time over the next 5 to 7 years to hopefully save up money to replace it. And if you don't think you can come up with the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to replace a roof on the home that you're looking to buy, don't buy that home. Please buy a home that has a newer roof so you don't put yourself in a bad financial point or risk down the road. Now, let's talk about some of the older homes. Let's say the home was built in the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, or before 1992. You're going to have the highest insurance premiums on those homes. Even if the home has a new roof, it has hurricane impact windows, if it has updated electrical, if it has updated plumbing, you're still going to pay a higher premium on those homes. For instance, a concrete block home built in the 1970s that had a newer roof but did not have the hurricane protection, no shutters, no hurricane impact windows, was around $3,000 per year. Now, you'll probably save about $500 to $700 per year if you get the hurricane impact windows and or hurricane shutters. Now, what about a wood frame or stick-built home? I know a lot of viewers are moving from other states where they only build wood frame and stick-built homes. I would highly tell you to avoid buying a wood frame construction here on the southeast coast of Florida, because there's other reasons more than just the cost of insurance. Between the humidity, the termites, and so many other factors, it's not cost effective to buy a wood frame home. So, like I said before, try to buy a home built after 1992 or 1993 to 2023. That's going to offer you the best insurance premiums and the lowest insurance premiums here in Port St Lucie, Florida. If you have questions, reach out to me. All right, this portion of the video is going to apply to parents that have children that will be attending schools within Port St Lucie, Florida. Again, if you're moving to Port St Lucie, Florida, whether you're buying a home, renting a room, living with relatives, it doesn't really matter. If you're moving to Port St Lucie, Florida, this section, I'm going to go over the boundaries for the school zones, which is broken up into 3 different colors within St. Lucie County, Florida. Now, Fort Pierce, Florida is part of St. Lucie County. This portion is strictly for Port St. Lucie, Florida, and I do have to reiterate on this one, this information is deemed reliable. It is not guaranteed. This information can change at any time. Today's video was recorded on March 12th, 2023. This is information I'm getting from the county website for the regional zones. You must go to the county website, which I will put the information in the description below, so you can go directly to the source. Even if you're watching this video in 2025 or 2030, this way it'll ensure that you have the most accurate information. So let's make this simple. If you live in Port St. Lucie, or you're moving to Port St. Lucie, Florida, and you live east of the Florida Turnpike, again, east of the Florida Turnpike, in this section, you will be part of the blue regional zones. I'll go over the zip codes in a few minutes that are part of the blue regional zones as well. Now, if you live west of the Florida Turnpike, you will be in the red regional zone. So this is how St. Lucie County breaks up. Based on where you live at, you're going to live in a color chart or a color zone or a regional zone. So again, I'll go over the zip codes in just a few minutes for both the red and the blue regional zones. So hopefully this will help you understand a little bit better based on where you're going to live at. And usually when you do a zip code search for real estate, it may help narrow down where you want to live at based on school choices. Now let's talk about zip codes in the blue regional zone, and they include 34952, 34957, 34983, or 34984. Now, if you're going to live in the red regional zone, the zip codes include 34953, which is one of the most popular zip codes as well. You have 34986 or 34987. Again, if you're in the 34952, 34957, 34983, or the 34984, you will be in the blue regional zone. If you live in the 34953, 34986, or 34987, you will be in the red regional zone. Once again, this information is deemed reliable, but it is not guaranteed. You as a guardian, you need to verify this information on your own at the county website. I'll put the information in the description below. Well, I see you made it to the end of today's video. I definitely hope you enjoyed it. I hope it provided a lot of valuable information, maybe some information you haven't seen in other videos about moving to Port St Lucie, Florida. I do have some new videos coming out that I'm currently working on. And if there's anything you would like me to include in a future video, take the time to send me an email at info@davidjrogers.com. You can also shoot me a text at 561-660-0154. And if you haven't done so already, please take the time to hit that subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, smash the like button, ring the bell notification, and leave comments about this video. And we'll see you on the next one.